A media outlet in Turkey reports on the potential deployment of Turkish S-400 air defence systems near the Iraq border for an upcoming cross-border operation targeting Kurdish fighters. Syrian Democratic Forces Mazlum Abdi, the commander of the boots on the ground for anti-ISIS efforts in northeast Syria, says the local administration must receive more financial support from their US allies. A pro-Kurdish DEM Party MP for Siirt, Turkey, was prevented from entering a courthouse by a police officer who stated, "You are not a deputy of the people." DEM Party won 50% of the votes in the city's polls on the 31st of March. Scores of lawyers gathered in Brussels for the Political Prisoners Isolation, Ill-Treatment and Torture Conference, which addressed the detention conditions of political prisoners in Turkey and Europe. Learn more with Media News. Turkey plans to deploy S-400 air defence systems along its border with Iraq in preparation for a military offensive against Kurdish guerrilla forces in Iraqi Kurdistan, according to a Turkish media outlet. This move is part of a broader strategy announced by President Erdogan following a cabinet meeting on the 4th of March, vowing to permanently end the Kurdish guerrillas by the summer. The president said, "Our preparations are ready to disrupt the plans of those who are trying to undermine Turkey by establishing a terroristan on our southern border," employing a play of words in reference to Kurdistan. Additionally, the president reiterated Turkey's long-standing goal of establishing a security corridor extending 30 to 40 kilometres into Syrian territory, indicating an intention to consolidate the current Turkish occupation of the region. Turkey's cross-border military operations into Iraq and Syria, particularly those targeting civilian infrastructure, have attracted significant criticism, both domestically and internationally, and have faced accusations of war crimes. Additionally, Turkey's acquisition of S-400 air defence systems from Russia significantly impacted its relations with the United States. A resurgence of ISIS is imminent, a top Syrian Kurdish commander has warned, as the extremist group takes advantage of heightened security issues in the Middle East. Moreover, the United States must commit to meaningful engagement with the autonomous governance in north and east Syria and support the US-allied local forces in their fight against ISIS, Commander Mazlum Abdi said in a recent interview. ISIS is expected to up its attacks against the local Syrian Democratic Forces and regain strength, having already expanded its presence in regime-controlled areas in the Syrian desert, Abdi added. ISIS exploits vulnerabilities created by the refusal of the US to formally acknowledge the autonomous administration of north and east Syria as an interlocutor in the global coalition against ISIS, despite an allegiance between the US and the Syrian Democratic Forces, the administration's security force. The commander continued, saying, "ISIS is exploiting the regional chaos to increase its attacks against us. At the same time, militia allied with Iran have also increased their attacks against us, together with Syrian regime forces, particularly in Deir ez-Zor." Meanwhile, the regions under Turkish occupation in northern Syria provide a safe haven for ISIS, the commander added. A senior Turkish police officer refused to permit an MP entry to a courthouse in Turkey's Kurdish-majority city of Siirt. The senior officer claimed that the elected MP, Sabahat Seritas, a member of parliament for the People's Equality and Democracy Party, was not a representative of the people. The pro-Kurdish DEM Party took a strong lead in Siirt's polls on the 31st of March, winning 50 to 37 against the Justice and Development Party. The country's ruling party disputed the city's vote count, filing an official objection. The incident took place when MP Seritas sought information on the case from a Siirt courthouse last week. On arrival, she found the entrance to the building blocked by a group of police officers.
Senin polislere yaklaşma.
Bu devletin politikası senin değil.
Sen bu devleti bile çekilirsin.
Ama olmaz böyle müdür bey. Hayır. Kendi iradesi. Siz biliyorsunuz bu devleti. Hayır, bu olmaz. Bunu kabul etmiyoruz. Muhatabım değil. Muhatabım değil. Bu halk demokratik tepki göstermiştir. Bütün işkencesine, bütün saldırısına rağmen bu halk demokratik bir şekilde hiçbir taşkınlık yapmadan, hiçbir sorun çıkarmadan demokratik bir şekilde eylemini gerçekleştirmiş ve dağılmıştır. Ama bugün adliyeye geliyoruz. Beyefendi kapıda benim bu halkın iradesi olmadığımı söyleme cüretinde bulunuyor.
Abdullah Öcalan's detention is a model for broader repressive practices within the Turkish detention system as a whole, speakers at a European Parliament conference have said. Scores of lawyers gathered in Brussels for the Political Prisoners, Isolation, Ill-Treatment and Torture Conference, which addressed the isolation of Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, leader Öcalan. This isolation method started with Mr Öcalan when he was arrested and taken to İmralı. It's now in all of Turkish society and other countries in Europe. This is why it's so important to talk about what's going on in Turkey. But it's not only a Turkish issue, said advocate Elena Lagnander, who joined an international delegation of lawyers in opposition to the Kurdish leader's isolation. The panel also heard from Mazlum Dinç from Asrin Law Office, the firm which represents Öcalan in Turkey. They've been obstructed from visiting or contacting their client, who has been in prison since 1999, for 36 months. Dr. Gulşah Kurt, a keynote speaker, addressed the broader suspension of the rule of law amid a state of exemption in Turkey, saying, "One has to ask, if international safeguards for prisoners aren't respected, is there any point in implementing these standards?"